8 thinking habits that outsmart 90% of people. Let's get right into it. Number 1. Stay curious and keep learning. Your brain is not a dusty attic where you store old facts until you can't cram any more in. It's more like a dynamic, ever-changing city. New roads, neural pathways can be built at any age, and the best way to kickstart that construction is with a dose of good old-fashioned curiosity. Most people stop actively learning after they finish school. Their mental city stops expanding, and they just keep taking the same old routes every day. The truly smart person, however, treats their brain like a perpetual work in progress. They're the ones asking, why? Long after everyone else has accepted, just because. Think about the last time you fell down a rabbit hole online. Maybe you wanted to know why your new houseplant was looking so sad, and an hour later you're an armchair expert on soil aeration and root rot. That's the habit. It's not about enrolling in a PhD program, it's about nurturing the instinct to look under the hood. When you encounter something you don't understand, your brain has two options: file it under boring magic I don't get, or flag it as mystery to be solved. Choosing the latter, consistently, is what builds a formidable intellect. It's the difference between seeing a car as a box that moves and understanding the symphony of controlled explosions that makes it go. This habit rewires your brain to see the world not as a set of finished statements, but as an endless series of fascinating questions. Number 2. Test ideas with evidence, not assumptions. Your brain is a fantastic storyteller. The problem is, it often prefers a juicy, dramatic story over a boring, factual one. An assumption is just your brain's first draft, a quick, easy narrative it spits out to make sense of a situation with minimal effort. Your coworker didn't say good morning, your brain's first draft might be, they hate me. It's because of what I said in the meeting yesterday. My career is over. It's dramatic, it's compelling, and it's probably complete nonsense. This is your brain's confirmation bias at work, a sneaky little mental shortcut where it looks for evidence that confirms its pre-existing beliefs and ignores everything else. Outsmarting this lazy inner storyteller means becoming a detective in your own life. Detectives don't run with the first wild theory, they look for evidence. Instead of assuming your coworker hates you, the evidence-based approach is to consider alternatives. Maybe they had headphones in, maybe they were stressing about a deadline, maybe they just got a text that their cat needs emergency surgery. The habit isn't about being cold and robotic, it's about trading cheap, stressful fiction for valuable, calming facts. You learn to challenge your own narratives by asking, what is the actual observable evidence here? This simple question acts as a powerful brake on emotional roller coasters, preventing you from reacting to a story that only exists in your head. It's the difference between being the frantic protagonist in a self-made drama and the calm observer who actually knows what's going on. Number 3. Practice daily self-reflection. If your life were a sport, most people just play the game on instinct, run off the field, and then do the same thing tomorrow. The smart player, however, watches the game tape. That's what daily self-reflection is. It's not about sitting in a dark room and judging yourself for every mistake. It's about being the calm, analytical coach of your own life. It's a deliberate look back at your day's performance, your decisions, your reactions, your conversations to find patterns and identify opportunities for improvement. Without this, you're just doomed to repeat the same unforced errors forever. You'll keep getting into the same arguments, making the same poor decisions, and wondering why things aren't changing. Think of a conversation that went sideways. The default human reaction is to either blame the other person entirely, they're so unreasonable, or wallow in vague self-pity, I'm so awkward. The reflective approach is more precise. You'd ask yourself, where exactly did the tone shift? What did I say right before that? Was I actually listening, or was I just waiting for my turn to talk? This isn't about beating yourself up. It's about debugging your own social software. Maybe you realize you have a habit of interrupting people when you get excited. That's not a moral failing, it's a bug in the code. Once you've identified it, you can work on patching it. Consistently doing this for 5 or 10 minutes a day is like giving yourself 1,000 tiny software updates over the course of a year, leading to a massively upgraded personal operating system. Number 4, see the big picture, not just the small setbacks. Your brain has a built-in zoom lens, and its default setting is to focus tightly on whatever is immediately wrong. You get a flat tire, and in that moment, the entire universe seems to shrink down to that one piece of useless rubber. This is a survival mechanism focused on the threat, but in the modern world, it often causes us to mistake a puddle for an ocean. We catastrophize. A critical comment from your boss becomes, I'm definitely getting fired, and a failed recipe becomes, I'm a terrible cook and will never be good at anything. This is tunnel vision, and it's an incredibly inefficient way to think. The habit of seeing the big picture is about consciously forcing that zoom lens to pull back. It's the practice of asking one powerful question in the face of adversity. How much will this matter in 5 years? Or 5 weeks? Or even 5 days? That flat tire that's ruining your morning. In a week, it will be a boring anecdote, if you even remember it at all. The presentation that didn't go perfectly. In 5 years, it will be a forgotten blip in a long and successful career. This mental trick doesn't magically solve the problem, but it drains the problem of its emotional power. It reframes a setback from a world-ending catastrophe into what it actually is: a temporary, manageable inconvenience or a single data point on a much larger graph. It gives you the perspective to act rationally instead of reacting emotionally, which is a strategic advantage in almost every aspect of life. Number 5. Focus only on what you can control. Imagine you're the captain of a small ship. You can control the sails, the rudder, and the way your crew is organized. You cannot, however, control the wind, the waves, or whether a giant squid decides to have a bad day. Most people spend their lives frantically yelling at the wind and cursing the waves. They pour enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy into things they have absolutely zero influence over: the traffic, the economy, what their sister-in-law thinks of their new haircut. This is not only exhausting, it's completely futile. It's the mental equivalent of trying to push a rope. The truly effective thinker performs a quick, ruthless triage on every situation. They draw a simple circle. Inside the circle are all the things they have direct control over: their actions, their effort, their responses, their attitude. Outside the circle is everything else. The secret is to invest 100% of your energy into the things inside that circle and actively ignore what's outside. Stuck in a massive traffic jam? You can't control the cars in front of you, but you can control whether you listen to an interesting podcast, call your mom, or just practice mindful breathing instead of hammering your horn and raising your blood pressure. This isn't about being passive, it's about being strategic. It's a radical reallocation of your energy from pointless worrying to productive action. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the calm, effective captain of your own ship, skillfully navigating the waters you're in, no matter how choppy they get. Number 6. Ask questions instead of arguing. When you enter a disagreement, your ego immediately suits up for battle. The goal of an argument is rarely to find the truth, it's to be right. It's a verbal wrestling match where you're trying to pin your opponent's opinion to the mat. You state your case, they state theirs, and then you both dig trenches and start lobbing verbal grenades at each other. The result? 2 people more entrenched in their own views than ever before, who now probably like each other a little bit less. It's a lose-lose scenario disguised as a competition. The smarter habit is to consciously override this combative instinct and shift from a warrior to a detective. A detective doesn't shout their theories at a suspect, they ask questions to gather information. When someone says something you disagree with, instead of immediately countering with, "You're wrong and here's why," try deploying a genuine question like, "Help me understand your thinking on that," or "What's the main experience that led you to that belief?" This does 2 magical things. First, it instantly disarms the other person. They were expecting a fight, but you've offered them a platform. They feel respected and heard, making them more receptive. Second, it gives you crucial intelligence. You get to see the logic, or lack thereof, behind their position. You might discover a misunderstanding, a piece of information they have that you don't, or a core value that explains their entire viewpoint. It transforms a potential conflict into a collaborative search for understanding. You might not always end up agreeing, but you'll always end up smarter. Number 7. Use silence as a powerful tool. In a world obsessed with noise, hot takes, and filling every second of dead air, silence has become a superpower. Most people treat a pause in conversation like a crisis, a void that must be immediately filled with words, any words. This nervous chattering is often a sign of insecurity. We talk to prove we're smart, to show we're engaged, or simply to fend off the perceived awkwardness of quiet. But in doing so, we often talk ourselves into corners, reveal too much, or say things we haven't properly thought through. We mistake talking for communicating. The strategic thinker understands that silence isn't an absence of communication. It's a different, more powerful form of it. In a negotiation, after you've made your offer, the most powerful thing you can do is shut up. The silence creates a social pressure that the other party will often break by sweetening their own deal. When someone is angry and venting at you, meeting their tirade with calm, deliberate silence can de-escalate the situation faster than any argument. It signals that you are not being drawn into their emotional storm. Most importantly, silence gives you the space to think. By not immediately reacting, you give your brain a precious few seconds to process what's been said and formulate an intelligent response rather than blurting out the first thing your emotional brain cooks up. Silence is confidence. It's the quiet assertion that you are in control of your own words and reactions, and you will deploy them with precision, not panic. Number 8, pause before you react. Your brain is a marvel of evolution, but part of it is still running on ancient software. You have the fast, instinctive, emotional lizard brain that's great for dodging saber-toothed tigers, and you have the slow, rational, analytical human brain that's great for things like filing taxes and not insulting your boss. The problem is, when a stimulus comes in, a critical email, an unexpected bill, a snarky comment, the lizard brain gets the signal first, and its immediate response is always some version of fight, flight, or freeze. The knee-jerk reaction is almost always emotional and rarely your best move. The single most impactful habit of a superior thinker is the mastery of the pause. It is the deliberate creation of a small buffer of time between the stimulus and your response. In that tiny space, that gap of a few seconds, you give your slower, more rational brain a chance to catch up and veto the lizard's terrible ideas. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The lizard brain screams rage. The pause allows your human brain to whisper, "It's not worth it. You'll never see them again. Just breathe." An infuriating email lands in your inbox. The lizard brain wants you to fire back a career-ending reply. The pause, whether it's taking 3 deep breaths, walking around the block, or sleeping on it, is what allows you to craft a calm, professional, and far more effective response the next day. This habit is simple, but not easy. It is the conscious practice of taking your finger off the trigger. It is the difference between being a slave to your impulses and the master of your actions. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.